All right. So here we go. So our numbers on this thing are 105.6. So most would probably call it a 106 on the exhaust. The intake is at 79. The transfers are at 122. So we got 16 degrees of blowdown, 43 degrees of crankcase compression. In getting it to fire up and run and tuning it, I flooded it out horribly bad. So it was not particularly easy to tune. However, now that I've got it, you know, fairly tuned up, I have my screwdriver and I have my tack right here. So we're gonna mess with it some more. But now that I'm gonna see what it'll do in the wood and all that stuff. Oh, and it has, so I cut the squish. I cut a lot out of the squish. I don't know how much. Just cut out enough to get my numbers. Probably about 40 or 50 thousandth squish, something like that. Maybe 30, I don't know. But ultimately my squish is at 22 thousandths. To that I will say, hot damn. I'm going to give it a little bit more fuel. Man, that thing, it's pulling. 11,600 RPM right there. Dogging it in. That's nice. That's really running great. That's better than I hoped for. Won't cut through something. Me likey. Me likey lots. Me likey long time. That is a 50cc class saw, okay? I know it's 54 cc's. This is a 50cc chassis. This is a nice, small, compact unit. We got a 20-inch bar on there, buried in 20-inch oak. Again, this thing would have no problem running a 24-inch bar. But I think whenever you do that, it defeats the purpose of a small saw. Don't get me wrong, I like to play like the rest of you guys. You know, I like to try out new things and be like, hey, look at this, I got this great big bar on this little tiny saw. I dig it too, and especially if I'm doing something where it's a lot of bucking of small stuff on the ground, and I just want to do this. But that's rare for me in my life. I just don't have that happen all that often. So, so for me, I like my 50cc saws with either an 18 or a 20-inch bar, okay? And it depends on the saw. It does, but 18, 20-inch, pretty close. One thing's for sure is I have a lot of wood this size, okay? That's why you see me cutting stuff like this all the time. It's because my wood is pretty good, sizable red oak. That's what comes down on my property all the time. That's what I look at on my property and go, I need to get rid of that one because it's leaning, or whatever. That's what I have. That's what I deal with constantly. So, my setup may not work for you. You may be dealing with something where you have a huge canopy, right? Like a big white oak or something. You got this big, massive canopy and a lot of wood this big. The tree fell down, and so all those branches are sticking out like this, okay? And so therefore, you might be like, no, man, I run a 16-inch bar all day long because you're just dealing with stuff that big around, and it's all right here, and that's the way you like it. Another guy might be dealing with stuff on the ground all day long, and he wants to run that 24-inch bar because he's 5'8", and that means he doesn't have to bend over, right? To each their own. I like a 20-inch setup, maybe an 18-inch setup on my 50cc saws. Whenever I jump to 60cc, I like 20 to 24. My Shindaiwa 600 SX wears a 22-inch bar. I think that is perfect for a 60cc class saw and a 60cc class work. Anything bigger, your 70cc plus saws, I'm going to be running 24-inch to 28-inch, and then way up above that when I get to my big saws, then that's whenever I'll start running 32, 36-inch bars. All right, so to me, it all makes sense. But for you, it might make sense to have a steel 026 with a 36-inch bar on it. And you go for it, brothers. You know, this works for me. I totally am digging the yellow tank. I did notice with the sun hitting it, the sun directly on it, there is a color difference, right? But not much. And with your bare eyes, you can hardly tell a difference at all. But I like this yellow tank. I don't know if there's any more left or not, but I found them on eBay, and I got 3 of them. So we used our first one right now. I've got a 330 that I'm planning on making into a Super 380. I'll use one of these tanks on it. I'm thinking, we'll see. But, oh, let go. This piece of wood is about finished. There we go. Let's see if she'll fire back up. I don't have that set quite right. Probably need a little bit more fuel on the low side. Whenever it doesn't fire right back up after sitting, it's usually because you need a little bit more fuel on the low side. That's a little too rich. Now, if you're wondering, that is a steel RS 325 chain out the box.